today we sit down with Karina Anthony, who's the senior director of marketing at Visit Atlantic City. I'm telling you, she's been busy. She has worn all the hats and has a lot of insight into just so many different facets, research to rebranding to website development to community outreach. Like they have done so many good things, and it just sounds like they keep trying new things, and introduced me to, in particular, regenerative. I couldn't say it before, I can't say it now. Tourism, and how they're bringing in these social impact initiatives along with business type travel, and it's really, I mean, I've never even thought of it, but it's such a great idea. And I like how they're implementing all that. It's really cool. Um, but she's got a lot of great insight, and certainly someone who's a professional and passionate about what she does. So I hope you guys enjoy this and check out all the cool things they're doing.
So this will be my 10th year in the travel and tourism industry and meetings and conventions. I started in 2014 as the marketing and technology manager with the company, and now I am the senior director of marketing with Visit Atlantic City. We were previously Meet AC because we handle the meetings and conventions for Atlantic City, New Jersey, but we recently went through a rebrand to Visit Atlantic City.
How big? I mean, how much of an undertaking was that whole rebrand?
It was a lot, and especially because going back to 2014, we actually separated from the Atlantic City Convention and Visitors Authority, and it was leisure advertising and meetings and conventions. But Meet AC, our original company name, was developed to take care of all the meetings and conventions for Atlantic City. So that happened in 2014. So I feel like kind of like deja vu even, because we had a new CRM system there that was my responsibility. Then, so we did that. In 2017, I was promoted to the marketing director within the company. So my role has constantly been changing, things like that. Then in 2023, I was promoted to senior director of marketing. And that's when the ball really got rolling with our new rebrand, when we rebranded to Visit Atlantic City. And it kind of started with the pandemic shifting things into motion, which I don't like referencing the pandemic so much because we're trying to move forward. But I really think that shifted people's way of thinking and of doing things.
Yeah, for sure, and especially when it comes to travel and experiences and all of that. Like I just had lunch with someone, and he was saying that he felt like at the end of 2022, like there was this explosion of need of people to like get out and go do things.
Yeah, you call that revenge tourism. Like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it because I can. So I'm gonna be everywhere. I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that I can go do all these things. And I noticed actually right before the pandemic of June of 2019, I was in Italy. I was in Florence and Tuscany, and I've never seen the airports more crowded. I've never seen all the transportation crowded. It was a perfect example of over tourism. And this was before the pandemic. I thought, wow, something's got to change. I just can't believe there are so many people just everywhere. And then, everything else happened, and I just can't believe it. Thankfully, in Atlantic City, we are close to the beach. We are a resort destination, a beach destination. So we fared pretty well as opposed to other destinations that did not have the wide open space to offer that we do.
Yeah. You brought up revenge tourism, and it brings to mind another word, which is a much worse word than that, and it's bleisure. The blend of leisure and business. It's such like it's a terrible word to describe something that's a cool thing that wasn't happening a ton before, pre-pandemic. I think you're seeing that a lot more now too.
Yeah, so we use bleisure a lot. lately. We have to explain it. But for us, what came out of the pandemic was regenerative tourism and the concept of make your meetings meaningful. Because right before the pandemic happened, I gave birth to my son. So I was on maternity leave, and when I was about to come back, the pandemic happened. So I had a lot of extra time with my family, and I'm thinking, you know, if you have to leave your family for a meeting, which our whole point is face-to-face meetings, that because they're so important to get work done face-to-face. If you have to do it, you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And it wasn't safe to leave. You really had to think about it. So, and if you could leave for a meeting and make that destination better than when you first got there. So if you could have a meeting somewhere and involve that with some type of corporate social responsibility to kind of make you feel good and whole about this experience you have when you have to leave your family, when you have to travel. And there's so many other factors in that, but um, that's really regenerative tourism has really helped us, bridge that gap for people.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Give me some examples of what that might look like.
Sure. So say the widget convention is coming into Atlantic City, and their meeting organizer says, "Well, I have all these attendees for a certain session at this time, and we'd like to do some type of giving back." And we say, great, you can go plant dune grass on the beach on this day, and that helps the community. Or we can link you up with the Boys and Girls Club of Atlantic City, and you can do volunteer work that day. Or you can go to the Humane Society of Atlantic County and clean the cages, walk the dogs, fold the laundry. These are all the things that you can do in our community to make it a better place and to get to know the community better while you're here.
That's pretty interesting. Um, I'm trying to imagine all the times that I had to travel for, a convention or something, and in the middle of it, they're like, "All right, let's go clean some dog cages."
A lot of conferences are adding this to their itineraries and schedules for different locations, and not everybody has to do it. I mean, you can sign up, but and we even do this as a company. So I kind of incorporated this into our philosophy. I said we should practice what we preach. So we recently volunteered at the Humane Society of Atlantic County. I personally have two of my pets from there. And we spent time with them. We asked them what they need. We even did a podcast with the director of the facility to get them more exposure. It's just a nice way of giving back to your community, and that's one of the great aspects of working for a destination marketing organization is you're helping your community every single day. You're bringing economic impact into the community. You're touting all the great things about the community, all the businesses. So that's, every day is something different, and you can feel like you're doing better for your local environment.
I really, and I'm going to kind of eat this regenerative idea. I'm going to have to work on that word. It's going to be something I'll have to deal with. But, but like, I think what's really cool about that is that it gives you, say me, right? I traveled to Atlantic City and I'm like, okay, there was this time I went.
Mm-hmm.
But to say like we went there and planted a tree, like it gives you this sort of emotional attachment to the place that you didn't have before. It wasn't just like, yeah, I flew in. I was just at a conference this past weekend and we were joking around about how people are like, how was the city you went to? I'm like, I don't know. I saw the airport. I saw the traffic. I saw the hotel, and then I saw it again on the way out. That was all that I saw. So that element of, taking the work out of it for a minute and taking a minute to enjoy kind of where you are and participating in that place is
Right.
really, really a cool idea.
And I mean, selfishly, it helps the destination because this person that comes in that might not have done something in your destination is like, maybe I'll bring my family back. Maybe I'll come back for a vacation. And that's where Bleisure comes in, for their next conference in Atlantic City. They come a day early, they stay 2 days after with their family, their friends, things like that.
Yeah, we our assignment is to figure out a new word for bleisure. I think that as an industry.
Yeah. I don't like the word either, but it's silly. I mean, it's you really just like smush them together without much thought.
Yeah, it's like there's a
And we can do better than
I
that.
feel like we can too. I know there's a name for this, and I'll have to look it up in a minute. But like when they take couples and put them together, and it's like Benifer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can do better.
And this is really impressive because like that initiative on top of all the other things, because we talked about all the other things that you've spearheaded since you've been put into this position. I mean, it's a really long list of stuff to add that to it. So tell me a little bit more about some of the other things that you've been able to kind of help move forward.
So, something I'm really proud of that I started, I guess, the end of 2017, 2018, before working from home was, the norm. I really pressed my CEO to have work from home capabilities because I just thought for our jobs, we could really do them from anywhere. And so much of our staff traveled all the time to promote Atlantic City, and we were on our laptops. I said, we have the technology, we should be able to do this. And with that, I brought on board our new virtual reality campaign. And this was basically virtual tours of the Atlantic City Convention Center and the surrounding areas to make people feel like they were here. And if they could not get here, so they could book business through us. Fast forward to March of 2020, this all came in handy when everyone was shut down and we already had all these capabilities because I kept pushing and pushing my boss. I said, let's just do it. Let's see how it goes. He liked to see everyone. He liked to see what was going on. I said, if work, you'll know when work isn't getting done. You will. Like, if someone is a problem, you will recognize that. So we had these virtual reality concept, these virtual tours of the Atlantic City Convention Center. Within 2 months of launching, we booked business that was $300,000 in economic impact from that virtual tour.
There you go.
I mean, back then it was cutting edge.
Well, I mean, it feels like things get, technology gets adopted so quickly that cutting edge goes from like nobody's done this to everyone's doing this really quickly. But I just think, it sounds like a couple things that you've talked about so far. These are like it seems like you take this approach to how can we get 1% better, right? This idea of like these small
Mm-hmm.
little
Always.
changes that isn't going to be I'm not trying to revolutionize the entire industry by saying we're going to work from home, but just to say like 4 days a week, you know, that we get to
Mm-hmm.
to kind of have a little bit more balance or something like that. I think that approach will probably serve you well into the future beyond what you've already been able to accomplish too.
Well, as marketers, you're kind of insatiable, and you have so many ideas that just like a little step forward is can be revolutionary because you aren't trying to change things and switch so many things up, but you're just trying to stay ahead of the curve. I don't want to know what the trends are. I want to know what can make us better because trends are trendy for a reason and they're not for everyone. Like right now, everyone's talking about AI, but do they really know what they're talking about?
No, they read a blog post and they think they're AI experts now.
I get asked very frequently in meetings, what are we doing with AI? And I want to ask back, what do you suggest? What do you tell me what you know about AI?
Well, yeah. Or like, what do you think the outcome's going to be if I implement this tomorrow? Like, do you expect it to eliminate a job, or do you think it's going to, what's the efficiency you think you're going to find out of it? Because what we
Right.
find is it just creates another job, meaning like it might save you time here, but you've got to put it back in over
Mhm.
here. It's not, you know, fixing something altogether.
Right. I think you really have to think long and hard about what you want to use it for and, you know, take some time to assess what you need. And I think that's also what the past few years have taught us is that, take a step back, take some time to think of a strategy and what you want to do and be mindful of it. That's also where meaningful meetings came from. Just be more mindful of your life and work, home, and what you really want to get out of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the idea of like starting with values first, right? What are our values and our
Mm-hmm.
goals? And then you bring up something like AI. Can AI do this? Well, does it fit within the values and goals of what we're trying to do, or is we're just using it because
Right.
everybody's talking about it?
And AI does not have the experiences that we have because, you know, starting in, I guess it was 2019, I started my journey towards my CDME, which is the Certified Destination Management Executive. It's the highest accreditation you can get in the meetings industry. And with that, it really opened up my eyes to what more there is in meetings. And you meet so many people from around the country that do different things in their destination, and you get so many different ideas. And that's kind of the whole basis of the CDME program is they don't offer online courses. It completely shut down during COVID because it's all in-person coursework, in-person classes pretty much all over the country. It's hosted by Destinations International, and you have to attend so many classes, and then you have to write a paper at the end, APA style. Yeah, citations. Granted, I got my paper back about 2 times to rework. I'll admit it. The perfectionist that I am, but yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's really a distinguished value for an executive in the meetings industry, and you learn a lot that you apply to how you lead and how you execute certain projects and the type of research you do.
That's awesome. I mean, I I think that anytime you're going and either figuring out how to learn more or getting a certification that's going to help you to improve what you're doing, that's obviously going to create a ton of value. And I'd love the fact that that a meeting certification has to be actually done in person. That seems novel, right? But I think that's great that because yeah, you're everything that you're doing is going to be in person. So why wouldn't that be in person? And it sounds like they're making it a
Yeah.
pretty high barrier to entry for people to get it done because not a lot of people probably are going to finish that paper.
It really is. And it's funny. You'll meet some people at conference and they're like, "Oh, I haven't finished the paper. I graduated 5 years ago, but I haven't got my certification yet."
Yeah.
So yeah, I had my graduation last July in Dallas. So you actually walk across the stage, you get your diploma. So I did that again.
Yeah, I feel like that would cause a stress stream for me. I still have that one where like they call me up and tell me I still have to finish a semester of school
Hmm.
and I've got to go back and do that. I don't know why that stresses me out, but
Well, it's funny. I never even liked school, but I saw this and I was like, let me do it. And even during COVID, when we couldn't have classes, which I was emailing all the different anyone I could email, I was emailing. I said, come on, let us do it. Let us just finish. And they're like, no, 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 it has to be in person. Once we figure this out, you'll come back and you'll go get right back from where you finished. I said, all right. So during COVID, I did a leadership course at the University of Notre Dame online. So it kind of just, kept the learning going.
what other certifications or like extended academics are you planning?
So, I don't know. I don't know. And I've been thinking about it because I asked some of my classmates too. I said, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this, certification at our graduation? And no one had a real finite answer because for some people, I said, are you going to try to get a better job? Are you going to, implement some more projects? So I don't really know. I've kind of been using this past year to think of a strategy of what to do moving forward that'll assist the destination, but also, some of my interests, because I was on a few different business association boards. I'm on an economic development committee. Um, I was a part of my local hospital's planned giving board. But I just wanted to make room to do what I really love and what I'm passionate about, and it is my local community. And I want to figure out how I can use my education that I've got in destination marketing and give back to my local communities.
You're busy.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. No, it's admirable. I mean, I feel like the older I get, the more selfish I get with my time,
You
and
have to be.
there's a certain point where you do, and then every once in a while you got to recenter, and go, okay, where am I spending my time, and is it valuable, and is it all the things it needs to be? So
Well, that's kind of where I am now. That's kind of where I am now, because I left some of these boards, and my son is 4 now, so I wanted to spend a lot of time with him, because this is really important time, and my family is so important to me. That's why I love my job so much, because of the flexibility. And I can work from anywhere, I can work anytime. I like to be home and have dinner with my family every single night. So that to me is important. That's why I'm really reevaluating where I want to spend my time, because you need to be selfish with it, because no one else has your best interest in mind except you.
yeah, yeah. And by the way, the next couple of years are really fun years too with the kiddo.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he's getting a fun personality.
yeah, we've got one of those. So my kids are 7, 9, and 11. They're all
Mhm.
about to go through new birthdays, but we have the picture frame that automatically runs. The digital picture frame that does old
Mhm.
pictures, and I'm starting to see pictures of when they were like 4 and 5 and running naked around the neighborhood, and just being feral children, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm missing that time right
Yeah.
now. But yeah, that's a fun time for the kids. So
It is fun. So I'm trying to enjoy it. I try to be home when I can, but between mine and my husband's schedule, he always has one of us.
there you go, there you go. So now we've kind of touched on this a little bit, and we talked about this before. You just relaunched, because you rebranded, so you just relaunched the
Yes.
website, which that's an undertaking. We know that's an undertaking, and it's this organic beast that constantly needs food, water, and attention. Websites are needy things.
They are, and you have to know what you want from them. You have to tell them what you want. They can't tell you. You tell them. You're the boss.
Ah, I wish I could get all mine to pay attention that way. Um, but yeah, that's a really big undertaking, and I obviously tip my hat for that, because you're dealing with stakeholders, and you're dealing with all these other
Right.
people that you're having to communicate with, and it's never this seamless, like, hey, just go build this website and it magically happens.
So at one point, we had 5 websites, because we have brands underneath of our brand, of the Atlantic City Visit Atlantic City brand. And at one point, it was Meet AC. Then we had the Atlantic City Sports Commission. Then we had a group tour. Then we had a film commission. And then we had a multimedia site where you could download things, and like kind of like an extranet and an intranet. So we had all these websites. Then with this rebrand, we had to ask ourselves, you know, and this comes back to being mindful and the whole meaningful meetings. We're thinking, what's the best thing to do for this destination? And I thought we needed a rebrand from Meet AC to Visit Atlantic City. And trust me, this took about 5, 6 years, because some people are hesitant to change. Shocking,
Really,
right? Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Huh.
And some people don't like to spend a lot of money for it. So there's that too. But do you know what I did that helped? And for any other marketers out there, I will say, if you can add this line item into your budget please, please do, especially if you have a project near and dear to your heart that you want to pass by your board, by your stakeholders, by your boss, hire a research agency. Because are, if you have a great gut feeling about something, and when the research supports that feeling, there is nothing better than that. Because it's just, it's like the ultimate, I was right.
Yes. Well, and on top of that, even if you're not right, like you don't, the idea isn't to go do research in order to prove yourself right. I
No.
mean, obviously you want to start with a hypothesis, and it feels really good when you go, okay, I have this idea that this is what's going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets reinforced, you're kind of like, hell yes, I knew everybody wanted to work from
Exactly.
home. Right.
Well, and I mean, I feel like to do a lot of this stuff, you have to be confident about it. And if you don't walk into a room presenting your case with confidence, then then people aren't going to want to believe in you, and they're not going to trust you. And in order for people to believe and trust you, you have to make them feel comfortable about what you're talking about and educate them on it, because people are comfortable when they know what to expect. And if you're educating them in the proper way with the proper facts behind what you're telling them, then they will feel better approving what you're telling them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point. And I think, you talked earlier about as a marketer, you're always looking for that improvement, right? You always have
Mm-hmm.
an idea about testing something out or trying something. And I think at the same time, while we can be brave in some ways, we can also suffer from imposter syndrome too, because you're guessing a lot of times, right? Like it's
Yeah.
an educated
Mm-hmm.
guess, but having that research to help support, right,
Mm-hmm.
what you want to do gives you the confidence to know, okay, we're backing this more with just the fact it's not something I dreamed up over coffee this morning, that I've
Exactly.
been thinking about it and I've got the data behind it to help move that along. I mean, there's strength in that for sure.
Exactly. We use quantitative research, we use qualitative research, we use focus groups, we use surveys, and we did it with a highly accredited research firm, Destination Analysts. A lot of DMOs work with them. And we used our local stakeholders and some of the focus groups. We used local Atlantic City residents. We used leisure travelers. We also used meeting planners, of course. And this led us to this new branding, this new Visit Atlantic City that really resonated with people. It was kind of quirky, which is Atlantic City. It evoked feelings of nostalgia and celebration, which, Atlantic City is a very historic destination. And within the tri state region, everyone thinks, where do you go to celebrate something? Atlantic City. So out came Visit Atlantic City. We still are primarily meetings and conventions, advertising, and we have had rave reviews to this. It made meeting planners feel very confident about the destination. They were more interested in planning a meeting, and it kind of helped our challenges, which are perceptions. Perceptions of safety, perceptions, all kinds of perceptions people had, and it really combated that.
Yeah. Have you heard the story of Florence, Alabama?
No.
So they did not use any research, and they certainly didn't use destination analyst, and they did a rebrand,
Hmm.
and it like was a disaster. You'll have to look it up because it was in the
Okay.
news. I mean, there was a local agency that did a
Hmm.
rebrand for the logo, and it could have gone worse if like there were people with pitchforks and torches in the streets. Like that would have been the only way it would have been worse. It was pretty close. It was pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it, and we've heard of these horror stories in my CDME courses of people with just ideas that go with the local agency. There's nothing wrong with local agencies because you want to support local businesses, but I, and I said this throughout the entire process. I said, this is not Karina Anthony choosing these colors, this font. anything. This is the people. This is what the people want. So it's not coming back on me. This is what the research says, okay?
Well, yeah, and I agree. And believe me, I don't want to, I don't want to say it was because they were a local agency or whatever else. I just think it was, I think too few people got in a room and
Yeah.
decided that they wanted to make this really big change, which affect it was supposed to unite the community in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
It just united them in a way against what these few people had decided was a good idea for everyone else without
Yeah.
getting a little more buy-in.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do, and you know, there's the phrase "too many cooks in the kitchen," but you have to have the right stakeholders at the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think going back to the things that it sounds like that you did right was just to take the time to like hear the voices and the opinions of people and to really listen and not just say, well, I'm going to use these certain pieces of data to support the thing I wanted to do. I'm
Right.
actually using their their ideas to help drive what is going to happen next, and it's not the Karina show.
No, no, it certainly is not. Listen, especially after having a child, I know it's not my show. I'm a supporting actor.
That's right. I'm not even a supporting actor anymore. I'm the food services guy.
Yeah, I'm the help.
That's exactly right.
And
Yep.
honestly, like it's funny because ever since having my son, I that's why I even take that approach to work too. Like, take a minute, like, let's problem solve first. Let's like take a minute. Let's not make a rash decision. Let's think about this.
That's a good thing to do. I feel like the more my kids get around me, the more I make rash decisions and
Well, you're
chase everybody out
outnumbered,
of the room.
so
That's right. I can only resort to violence to get
yeah,
the reactions I need. So
I get it.
one of the things you guys did is the Atlantic City Voices. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me about the process of doing that and the vision and how that's going.
So when we were Meet AC, we had video podcasts, and I'm going like 8 years back, and that was me and my coworker, our communications director, and we would go to different places, doing different things, like shooting short video clips of what we would be doing, and we would be like interviewing people and just having different Atlantic City experiences. This is another way we could have people experience the destination if they weren't here. So, obviously we couldn't do that during COVID. We had to kind of switch gears. That's when podcasts got pretty popular. And, she does all the PR, all the communications. She said, well, why don't we have a podcast? I said, well, it'd be nice to not be in front of the camera every single month to just talk to people. And it kind of was born from that. We interviewed our CEO first to kind of give a background of the company, and then it just organically grew to us interviewing different voices of Atlantic City within different communities, different business people, show organizers that bring their conventions here to Atlantic City. We started interviewing some of our staff, and just people really respond to it. And then some months we just have conversations with each other about what's going on, what we're doing. It could be around the holidays where we're taking our kids, and surprisingly, those are the ones that perform the best. People like just to hear the natural conversation too.
I think usually when you go into it with the idea of just like human stories, basic
Mm-hmm.
things that everybody goes through, and it not trying to be too promotional in that sense, I just think that's the stuff people kind of gravitate to sometimes. It feels
And
normal, right?
that's why I think our marketing has been doing so well, because I look at it as from an outsider's perspective. I don't want to be talked at. I want to be talked to. Talk to me, have a real conversation. What would I like to see from a brand out there? And that's where we came up with meaningful meetings. That's why we have these, engaging discussions. Everything we put out is very authentic. And and we personally approve whether it's any type of PR initiative. Jessica, our communications manager, she approves it. If it's anything else that goes out marketing wise, I see it, and I want to make sure it's not spammy, it's authentic. And I think that's why we're doing really well, and we're starting to really resonate with the local community, which is so important.
Yeah. No, I think that's and what you're doing, right? It's not just the means in the end. Meaning that like you're not just running some ad campaigns and all of a sudden people show up and they
Mm-hmm.
have an event there and that's the end of it. And obviously, you're talking about these other social responsibility pieces, but the community's got to realize they play a part in this whole thing too.
Of course.
And I think by bringing them into that the way that you're doing helps them to feel part of it without just saying, hey guys, we're going to bring people into town, you need to be on, mind your p's and q's, and let's make sure that this
Right.
is a good thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I like
they're
that.
really involved.
Yeah, I like that you've incorporated all them as part of what as part of what you're doing. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, we really try. And going back to the websites that we were talking about and really managing your website well, that was another thing we thought about is what do we want from this website. We know what we wanted from this rebrand. We wanted a recognizable, authentic brand, but what do we want from this website? And it goes back to the meeting planners. We want them to have somewhere to see all the listings that we have for Atlantic City. We want them to be able to see floor plans. We want them to download planner's guides so they are prepared when they come here to Atlantic City of what they want to see. We want them to be able to submit a request for proposal if they want to book a meeting here in Atlantic City. So we wanted our website to be extremely user friendly. So that's really important when you're talking to your agency is you know what you want from them, because anyone can build a beautiful looking website or have beautiful advertising, but will that stand the test of time? And that's how you know. I mean, our website debuted in July of 2023. Our metrics have been consistently going up every single month, and it's still doing really well. And that's how you know. That's how you know you're resonating with your key audience.
So that kind of really parlays perfectly into this. As you've been, growing, what are some of your biggest initiatives or challenges for 2024? What are the goals?
So it comes back to perception and educating the market. And right now, we're working with our sales team and our destination services team to work on educating anyone like looking to plan a meeting here in Atlantic City. And that starts with partnering with um, different types of companies within the meetings industry. And I'll throw out a lot of different acronyms like PCMA, IAEE, ASAE, MPI, that's Meeting Professionals International. But these are like the major players in the meetings industry. And we're not going to hand out water bottles with Visit Atlantic City. We're going to host educational sessions. We're going to partner with women's leadership sessions, LGBTQ plus sessions. We're going to really educate audiences about what's going on in Atlantic City, and then providing continuing education for these meeting planners because that's something they're also interested in.
Yeah. Well, and you, right, wrong, or indifferent, Atlantic City has a perception to it ahead of
It
time,
does.
right? There's this
Mm-hmm.
notion that you can thank MTV for, right? Of like what you're gonna get and what it is, or there's a whole nother sort of vibe
There
to
is.
what people expect, and then there's also how you're educating people about what it really is. And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
cities are going through that, right? It's not just you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you don't know what you don't know. So our goal is getting people here because once majority of people that come here, they say, I had no idea. I had no idea all of this was here. I had no idea you had such amazing restaurants. I had no idea I could have so much fun. I didn't know, you have all these different conference centers and your meeting space was so big. So that's really what it's all about. And it's doing it in a really authentic way, because we can certainly have ads that tout all of our meeting space and our restaurants, but we're talking about real people here, and we're talking about here's what, you can volunteer with the Boys and Girls Club of Atlantic City. Our company personally does. You can have puppies from the Humane Society of Atlantic County at your conference here in the Atlantic City Convention Center. We have that. It's, like pet a puppy, and people love that. So you can do so many different things with us. And what a lot of people don't know is that working with the CVB is free. So, you can utilize all of our services as long as you book a meeting or convention with us, and it has no cost to the meeting planner.
That's very cool. Uh, and by the way, I do know that the Jersey Shore and Atlantic City are not the same thing.
They're not, but some people, they really lump it all together. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I just had to look it up real quick. I was like, how far away is it actually? So it's like 57 minutes away. So
It
it's
is. It is. And they're different worlds. There's North Jersey, which is near New York. There's Central Jersey, which is Jersey Shore, and then there's South Jersey, which is us. So, but depending who you ask, they'll all say different parts of New Jersey.
yeah. Well,
It's very specific.
that well, I mean that's everywhere, but I'm sure everybody's like Alabama's just Alabama. That's just one big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple other things that I was kind of interested in from you is that either you've initiated it or you're planning on it. Are you starting a speaker series? Is that something you guys are kicking off this year?
That is one of our initiatives. Yes, and we're partnering with different conferences to do that.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So that's through our sales department, and like I said before, that's through we're working with different industry leaders with PCMA and IAEE and MPI, and we'll have different during different times of the year, we'll invite key meeting planners as part of familiarization trips to be a part of these speaker series.
Anything else? I do have one more question, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, not really. Please go ask away.
So if I have one day in Atlantic City, what's the day? What do I do?
Oh, well. So are you staying over? Are you staying somewhere, or you're just coming for the day?
No, I think it's got to be a 2-night stay, right? I got to come
Yeah.
in one day, and then I get up in
Mm-hmm.
the morning. I have a full day, and then I go to sleep there, and then I leave the next day.
There's a lot to do. Well, you obviously any of the casino properties are wonderful to stay at, and they offer such different vibes. So if you're looking for something very upscale, you stay at Ocean Casino Resort. But if you're bringing your family and you want like a lot of fun, you might stay at Showboat, which is not a casino, but it's at the end of the boardwalk, and they have go-kart racing, the world's largest indoor water park, an arcade, and multiple restaurants, and they're right on the boardwalk. So that pretty much covers all of it. So you would start your day with breakfast in Gardner's Basin at Gilchrist Restaurant. They apparently, well, no, they do have the best blueberry pancakes around. So that's where you would start your day. Then I would say you would go to the water park at Showboat, because it really is something spectacular to see. It is stunning. They have a special adult section. They have a kids section. They're building an Olympic-sized swimming pool that will debut this summer. It is beyond. Then you would take a walk on the boardwalk, stop and get some funnel cake, pop into Hard Rock, check it out, because their vibe is so fun. They have live music every night. You would go to Hard Rock Cafe for lunch. They're right off of the boardwalk. It's a great time, and then you could browse their iconic costumes they have, and their music memorabilia. It's a great time. Then you would probably go to a spa to relax a little bit before dinner time. I would recommend the Exhale Spa at Ocean Resort. Very relaxing. And they also have an indoor-outdoor pool that is open 365 days of the year. It can be snowing and the pool is open. It's heated. it's really something wild. I actually did a little staycation, and I stayed at Ocean with my family, and we went in the pool when it was like 30 degrees outside, and it was so much fun. And then I don't know if you've ever been to Nobu restaurants.
Hmm.
They're all over, but we just got one at Caesars. Caesars in Atlantic City, and they're opening the Nobu Hotel this summer. But Nobu restaurant, I recommend that hands down for dinner and drinks. And then after that, you go see the Hook at Caesars. It's a part of Spiegel World, and they put on these these like burlesque comedy acrobatic shows that will just blow your mind. Blow your mind.
That's a big day.
It's a big day, but you would have a lot of fun.
Okay,
That's a
I
fun
love
day in
it.
Atlantic City.
That's a fun day.
And you can tailor your itinerary to if you are here for work, if you're here with family. That's what's really nice. And I like to see some more family friendly attractions come into the city.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, obviously, when we talk about stuff like this, it's usually just about the business piece of it or the individual
Mm-hmm.
traveler or something like that. But obviously, the family, destinations are so important now, and I just
Yeah,
think that's and knowing what you're going to do with the kids, and obviously, we
yeah,
talked about our children, so having a plan for that is always helpful. So I can
well,
have my bleisure trip.
you can have your leisure trip in Atlantic City. Yes.
I love it. Okay. Well, other than visit atlanticcity.com, where else can we find you?
That you can go to my LinkedIn page. But yeah, or Atlantic City Voices podcast. We're on all the major streaming services, and yeah, visit atlanticcity.com. That's the best spot.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been really interesting. Like I learned way more than I expected to, and
Oh,
I
good.
love all the stuff that you guys are doing. I'm excited to see what y'all do for the rest of the year. So thank you again.
Thank you.